Wonderful. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm particularly excited about this training session, and I did see our treasurer, Martin Jansen van Vieren, is lurking somewhere down here. Hopefully, if we get some amazing information from Ryan today, we will implement some of these things at SATSA as well. After COVID, I'm sure every single one of you have been through that. As SATSA, as an association, we have streamlined our finances so much, and anything for us to sort of know how to manage and predict and, do our risk assessments, etc., easier. We are very keen to learn about that. So Ryan is Red Dot now. He was introduced to us by Ian Utomollen, if I pronounced that correctly, from SA Tourism. So very excited to have you online, Ryan, and thank you so much for agreeing to share some of your knowledge with us. I'm going to hand over to you now. So Ryan will probably do about 40 minutes, guys, and there will be questions and answers. If there's anything burning, it's sort of in the middle. I don't know, Ryan, would you prefer that people ask questions as you're going or keep them for the end?
I think, Hanley, if we can keep them for the end, if that's okay. I think we'll just last. Otherwise, we might get a bit sidetracked in the middle of the conversation, and then it may not be relevant to everybody.
Great, sure. So this training session is being recorded, and we will share the recording afterwards. And I see my financial manager has just joined us. I'm really excited about that too. So Ryan, you've got all of the financial heads of SATSA and probably of the industry in the room as well. No pressure, but over to you.
Awesome. Thank you, Hanley. And thank you for the opportunity. I really do appreciate it. And for everybody for making the time in the middle of their day just to join us on this webinar. So just allow me to introduce myself. My name is Ryan Coates. I am a chartered accountant. I did my articles at one of the big 4 firms and ended up spending 14 years there, leaving as associate director to start my own business. I started and run this business called Red Dot now. We're a remote cloud-based accounting and advisory business where we have the belief that every business should have quality financial information that really is underpinned by and supports decision making. And it's really something that I love engaging with our clients and our partners on this particular basis. Hanley, if we could just mute everybody, please.
Yes, I'm going through them. Sorry, and I'll keep on doing that. Just a reminder for everyone: I'm muting you, not because I don't love you, but just interruption on the chat.
No problem.
Thanks, Ryan.
Cool. Yeah, so we do work closely with clients in the tourism sector and to alleviate the pressures of running their finance and allied and administrative functions like secretarial services, like processing their payroll and doing their tax compliance. Really what we want to see is for businesses and leaders like yourselves to focus on what you do best and what you love, and that's delighting your customers. It's such an important, particularly within the tourism space itself. The experience of the client is what brings them back. I think we pride ourselves in delivering an accurate and relevant and easy to understand financial reporting framework that is really underpinned by a leading edge global platform. We, as a business, have chosen to use the accounting package called Xero. Many of you would have probably heard about them. They are one of the up and have been for a while, one of the up and coming small business accounting platforms globally. So just a bit more about us. We see ourselves as a small business, and by doing that, we believe honestly that we understand how small business operates. We don't play in large business in the large business sector. We have a suite of clients, approximately 200 to 300 clients in various sectors of the market. Some operating in the tourism space. We'll get a bit more on that. Number in the consulting space and some in manufacturing and retail. While I don't profess to be an expert in running tourism businesses, I can promise you and assure you that I've never run a hotel. I haven't run a tour operator. However, it's not a foreign concept to us. We've been involved with businesses within tourism, within B&Bs, hotels, and various clients where we understand the financial operations of the business and the administration. We do their monthly and daily processing. We assist them with capturing their payrolls, and ultimately results in us helping on a SARS and a tax compliance level. So just in case you're thinking this accountant is standing here talking to us in the tourism space, we do have some knowledge and understanding of where you operate. So what are we going to cover today? We're going to look at operating a tourism business using digital platforms, and I'm just going to share some of our experiences in terms of those digital platforms. And I think, there are so many, but we'll get to understand and unpack what they look like. We'll spend a bit of time on KPI reporting. I personally believe that KPI reporting is such a critical element to any small business owner understanding the business and seeing where they're going. So we talk around that. I want to touch on small business governance and compliance, just some of the specific areas that have come out of there based on what comes across my desk. And then there are one or two specific SARS related topics that I would like to just share with you. All right, so operating a tourism business using digital platforms. I mean, if you really start looking at the industry and the applications that are available to the industry, one can really have a look and say, the industry is one of the leading when it comes to customer engagement. And you start looking at these applications like TripAdvisor, Booking.com, Agoda, Expedia. I mean, you can start rattling them off. And I think the important part of this discussion is, if you're not on these apps, your customers are, and they're leaving you behind. And I think what it's done is it's really opened a world of opportunities for the hotels, the B&Bs, the tour operators, etc., to get clients and gather a market and have an experience from anyone, anywhere in the world. And the ability to be able to use these as your front-end engagement with your customer is exceptionally important. Some of the benefits, obviously, is that they're easy to use. You can access them from anywhere. But all fundamentally, from my point of view, is that a lot of these actually integrate with your back-end accounting and financial reporting systems. And that becomes your system of record. It allows you to be able to capture that information without having to go and do it manually, thereby saving you time and money and effort. And it also, typically, if you start looking at the Airbnbs of the world, etc., you get to set the rules of engagement. You put it out there, and it's up to you how you wish to engage with your customer. Now, all of those may not be relevant to every one of you, but I think the point being is that operating in this environment, in this world, and particularly post-COVID, we've seen that the move to digital and the move to digital financial reporting, particularly, I think has been fast-tracked about 5 years, if not even more. We're getting a lot more inquiries from people saying, look, what, I understand the cloud, I understand how online accounting systems can benefit my business. We're all working remotely. How do we go about doing this? And we'll talk a little bit about that just now. So why digital platforms? And you often get asked this question, what are the benefits? Well, it all depends on the business and what you're trying to achieve at the end of the day. Us at Red Dot, we've delivered almost over about 800 migrations from other accounting softwares to Xero over the years that we've been operating. And what we've seen is that there's a reduced cost of ownership, a massive increase in differentiation. Okay, so the ability to work from anywhere, having the mobile apps so that you can invoice your customers on the go, etc., etc. All of those are really where people are starting to see the benefit of moving to cloud infrastructure. So when we start looking at cloud architecture, as Red Dot now, we get the cloud. We know how it works and we understand its benefits. These systems that are that are built on the cloud, these accounting systems, the Xeros of the world, etc., they all come with a plug-and-play functionality. So what does that mean? It means that they have a host of third-party applications, all right, that allow you to keep full control of your business in different aspects. And we'll speak about what some of those may look like and what they may be. This pay-as-you-go software, the SaaS environment, software as a service, allows you to operationalize the software costs within your business without having to go and fork out enormous amounts of money to do these setups and pay software up front for a year, etc. If you don't like it, turn it off, move on with your life, find something else that works for you. Also giving you the real-time information, the ability to process 24/7, okay, without having to be able to connect into remote servers, gives you the ability to do for the software providers to do automatic upgrades. So, the good old days of getting the CD posted to you from the software developer, putting it into your computer, downloading the software, hoping it works and the upgrade works, etc., etc. Those days are gone. We're into a world where everything is done remotely, and it does without you even understanding and knowing what needs to happen. When we start looking at timelines and in quality of processing, these sort of softwares give you time-saving tools. I mean, I've come from an environment where people would capture and download their bank statements. They would actually have someone typing them into their accounting system, okay, and then doing the allocations of those particular transactions. We don't see that anymore. Those days are long gone. These new applications, they pull the transactions directly from your bank account, and we get to a position where a company like Red Dot, okay, assist those clients, or if the client is doing it themselves, actually start allocating transactions as opposed to capturing transactions. And there's a major difference because it saves time, it's more accurate, and it gives you the ability to understand and change how you report and view your business, so that you in your own right can run your business based on what has actually taken place and report against what has taken place. As I was mentioning, there are over 700 third-party applications within the Xero marketplace, and some of those we use a payroll application for certain clients that are all these applications are pre-integrated into the accounting system. Okay, so literally at a click of a button, the journals from the payroll are processed into your accounting system. You don't have to go and redo it. We use applications where our clients allow us to process their creditor transactions by simply scanning the document, okay, scanning the supplier invoice. And these applications use optical character recognition and extract the data for us. And with the advancements of artificial intelligence and machine learning, they actually start remembering where you've processed the transaction to, okay, and then start suggesting that it should be processed thereafter. Okay, so all these possibilities are available. They're allowing businesses to operate more efficiently, and almost on the go. So the reality of having people chained to a desk, hammering away at a keyboard to capture your financial data. If that is the case, and that's how you operate your business, we need to have a conversation. Sorry, let's move off here. There we go. Okay. So we just look at the top over there. When you start looking at reducing your risk in your finance function, we, as Red Dot now, we do offer an outsourced financial management service. A lot of times businesses come to us and say, my staff, I'm losing a staff member at the end of the month. I can't find someone to replace it. Do you think you could help out? And often if they're using these cloud applications, particularly Xero, we can step in quite easily and start working with that particular client. We have the ability to enable a decentralized execution with centralized administration. And we encourage common operating procedures across the entities. The reality is your transaction with any business is between you and your customer, you and your supplier, and you and your people. Okay, these are kind of recurring transactions. The problems come in is when there's an out of the ordinary transaction that someone doesn't know how to deal with. That's when typically the business owner or an external party needs to step in and help out. So yeah, I mean, I think when you start really, you start unpacking and understanding all of this, you're going to say to me like, Ryan, you know what, I really like what you're saying. It's interesting, but to be honest with you, I don't even know where to start. Where do we go with this? How do we do this thing? And this is where we can step in and really help you. As I said, we've helped almost 800 businesses migrate from various other systems to Xero, and we understand how it works. We do it. We know how to do the setup. We know what hasn't worked. We've made those mistakes, and we are exceptionally confident in terms of a change process, particularly with the business, what the business goes through, what the leadership goes through, what the data processes go through when it involves moving from one accounting system to another. And yeah, I mean, there are a number of success stories where we've been able to do that. So when we really start unpacking what is this all about, your systems of record become your key drivers for your business. Yes, you've got your booking front end systems. Yes, you've got your systems where you've got your payment gateways, etc., etc. All of that stuff is exceptionally important because it's critical to your business. But at the back end of that, what happens thereafter? Okay, do you have a system of record in place that makes sure that all those transactions, okay, are captured appropriately, timely, and accurately? Do you have systems of differentiation? Do you provide compelling reasons for your clients to engage you? Can they engage you in a different way? And I think these are just some of the questions that one would, as a business owner, you would want to ask yourselves. And then, do you have systems of innovation? Can you manage the use of your technology? What is the flow of information for your staff, your people? What is your process? And what is your product or service that is going to be first to market? And I think, we can have these conversations. It may not be relevant to everybody. And some of it may be, some people may just say, listen, I just want to have a system of record. I don't care about the other stuff. Someone else might look at it and say, you know what, I need this all pre-integrated. I need to understand that from end to end, I don't need to touch this significantly. But I want to stay ahead of the game here. I want to stay ahead of my competitors, and I want to be able to control my information from anywhere. So these are just some thoughts and ideas for you to ultimately consider whether this is relevant or not. All right, so that was just running and understanding running businesses on digital platforms. I want to just talk around KPI reporting. I think KPI reporting is close to my heart because ultimately, at the end of the day, the purpose of a key performance indicators, okay, are that they act as a barometer for your business. Okay, it's not about whether the KPI is right or wrong. Okay, it's about whether you can identify peaks and troughs that you compare to your expectation. And these peaks and troughs typically are caused by events that you know of, or they are caused by errors in your numbers. Okay, and for me, the discussions that I have with our own business that we've invested in, businesses, and those particularly for our clients, is that these KPIs allow us to hone in, okay, on what is a particular issue. So, for example, we often look at gross profit margin. Okay, gross profit margin is the difference between your revenue and your cost of sales, your cost to deliver, your direct costs. Okay, and we have an expectation by company, by industry of what that looks like. And if they're different, we need to know why they're different. We need to understand what has gone through there. And all the KPI does is it allows us to identify where the particular issue is. Okay, and so that we can go and do our own investigation, right? And in all the businesses that we get involved in, particularly at an executive level, at a business owner level, in a detailed reporting framework, the KPI reporting becomes an integral part of those particular discussions with those business owners. I thought I'd just share some of the the valuable examples of KPIs that we've built for a hotel and B&B group, for those that are in that particular space. When you start understanding the business and looking at how many room nights have we sold in the month, how many bed nights have we sold, how many complimentary rooms have we given away, what is our average occupancy, do we have an average room rate, do we know what that means, and there are a host of others that one would have a look at, and you may not want to monitor and look at all of them. It may be too much. You may want to have a look at only 3, 4, 5. But if we built these particular KPIs for a group of hotels that wanted to operate and understand these particular elements. Food and beverage. What does that mean if you do sell food and beverage? Do you understand what your cost of sales percentage is? Do you understand what your payroll burden is against that? So these really do become key frameworks. And like I said, I helped a hotel group of about 25 hotels develop and move over to Xero, understand and implement a single chart of accounts, built all these KPIs for them, and developed the reporting framework around what do these KPIs actually mean for the business, and then linked with them, ultimately develop their budget framework that they can report against on a monthly basis. It was a fascinating journey, and one we've implemented across a number of other smaller hotels and B&Bs. So I think one would need to ask certain questions when setting or deciding on KPIs. And I think the first one that comes to mind is what is your desired outcome here? Okay. Do you have a target? Do you want to achieve a certain number of customers? Is it a revenue desire that you want to achieve? Or is it focus on what is my gross margin? What is my, how much money am I contributing towards my operating costs? Or I just want to know roughly how many bed nights I'm selling in a month. Or how many clients are coming back to me. All these sort of, excuse me, these sort of indicators will allow us to determine whether we're on a path to success or not. And success doesn't necessarily mean that we're growing significantly, we're growing double digit. It just may means that we're consistently better than what we were last month. And I think those are really desires and outcomes that each individual business would consider themselves. When you start really asking yourselves, how does this outcome help achieve my vision for success? Does it relate into a better venue? Does it relate into a better experience for the customer? Do I have the ability to ultimately measure that? And then, how will you know you've ultimately achieved this outcome? Well, if you need to have a look, you need to manage it, you need to understand it, and it needs to become part of your day-to-day framework of your business. When you start looking at the value that you receive from KPI reporting, and we've seen it over the years, like I said, it's got to be an integral part of your business. It must form the basis of your monthly reporting, and because it ultimately gives you an indication of the health of your business against your own expectations and desires. Okay, we've seen that the success of KPI reporting really is comes from the link with your day-to-day record keeping that is both timely and accurate. I've worked with businesses where when we arrive there, okay, their monthly management reporting, they get 60 days after the month end. All right. By the time we've set them up and we've sorted out, we've ironed out the gremlins and that, typically we're getting management reporting out between 5 and 15 days subsequent to month end. And why is this ultimately important? Because at the end of the day, when you're getting 60-day management accounts out and financial reports out 60 days after your month end, the reality is the buck is bolted. It's gone. You just don't have the ability to deal with issues on a timely manner, and I think that's quite important to understand. So my last point on KPI reporting, and I'll leave it with you, and it's something that we share with our clients quite a lot, is if you can measure it, you can manage it. And I think the important part of doing that is making sure that it shouldn't be complex. It should be integral to the part of business, and it should be based on accurate and timely accurate and timely financial information. And hopefully it's pre-integrated with your accounting system. All right, so that was KPI reporting. I just want to touch on small business governance and compliance. It's the image there says corporate governance, and people look at it and say, well, it's not really for me. It doesn't apply. I'm a small business. It doesn't really matter. The reality is, the corporate side of it and the larger governance structures around corporate governance and big business, yes, doesn't apply to you, but there are some tricky issues that we see come across my desk, and often, when they're partners within the business, obviously if you're running the business on your own, it doesn't matter, but if they're partners within the business, we often find that the shareholders agreements and the memorandum of incorporation, the MOI of the business, are typically not aligned. There's always disparities between the two, and then when it comes to implementing the two documents, they don't talk to each other, and it creates a dispute. Shareholder changes are often not processed and documented correctly, and in the event of a dispute, it again causes major issues that just end up delaying and taking up time and energy and costs. And I think, typically for the smaller business, they're not looking out for this sort of stuff. The annual duty returns that are submitted to CIPC, typically after 3 years, if you haven't submitted your annual duty, CIPC can deregister your business. And what does that ultimately mean? It's a cumbersome process, and it's costly to unravel, because the reality is, on deregistration, effectively all the assets of the company are forfeited to the state, and people don't always understand this. They don't realize the significance of it, in terms of trying to do that and unravel it. Becomes a major issue. The compliance around annual duties is so simple, yet people just neglect it because it's not front of mind. It doesn't always get the attention that it needs to get. So I just wanted to touch base very briefly on those sort of governance and compliance issues, particularly when it comes to CIPC related matters. All right, then just one or two, before we end off, one or two specific SARS related topics. South African Revenue Services particularly has this notion within the tourism sector of this principal versus agent, and it's a very interesting topic that haunts the industry, unfortunately. Typically VAT and linked with it actually income tax treatment around this is ultimately driven by your contractual obligation with your customer, not really the substance of the transactions. And we're talking specifically amongst tour operators here. We operate a couple of tour operators, and you've got to be exceptionally careful, particularly when you're starting out, excuse me, in terms of how do you report your VAT? How do you report your income? Is it your income? Is it not your income? So all those complexities and differences come to the party. I know that there is an action or a body or an engagement to try and align the treatment of VAT and income tax. That's really been driven by industry bodies and the big four accounting firms with SARS, specifically around this issue. And one of the proposals, it hasn't been legislated obviously yet, but one of the proposals that's been put to SARS is to consider that regardless of the agreement between a tour operator and a customer, that VAT be levied at 0 rate, and that no input VAT ultimately then be claimed on that income. So whether that will happen or not, I'm not sure, but I'm raising it because this whole principal versus agent gets people unstuck sometimes, and I think it's incredibly important to seek clarity if you are unsure. Engage with the tax practitioner, engage with the industry bodies, and just make sure that from a VAT and an income tax treatment that you're doing it properly. And then lastly, I just wanted to talk around VAT refunds and timelines. We operate daily with the South African Revenue Services. And at some point in time, your business may or may not be in a position where you've got to submit a VAT refund. And our experience is highlighting that this process is now taking anything between 3 to 6 months to resolve. We've got instances where all the paperwork is in place, and I will talk around some of that stuff. It gets submitted when the VAT return gets submitted, and yet the process is cumbersome. It takes time with multiple queries for information, and it's not the case of a couple of years back where it would be resolved within the 21 working days. We're just not seeing that at the moment. So I think what's important to know here, and it's not only from a VAT refund point of view. I mean, any VAT query that you have from a SARS point is making sure that all your VAT supporting documentation is ready when you are ready to submit your VAT return. I think it's important that your invoice to your customers is appropriately designed and completed in the right manner, and then that your invoices from your suppliers meet the SARS requirements. If they don't, you need to ask them to provide that to you appropriately, and ensure that you're using an accounting package or appropriate system, okay, that provides you with a summary and decharge schedules that support your VAT inputs and outputs. And like I said, I think if you are having hassles with dealing with VAT-related matters or outstanding refunds, engage a tax practitioner like Red Dot now to assist you on that particular basis. So, ladies and gents, that is a summary of the particular points and topics. I didn't want to labor the points on them too much. I hope I've given you some fruitful thoughts around digital platforms, dealing with compliance and KPI reporting, and give you something to chew on. That hopefully, at the end of the day, that you're welcome to give me a call and we can engage and discuss further if that's of any benefit to you. So, Hanley, I don't know if there are any questions, and if there are, and I can try and answer them now. If not, we can take it offline as well.
Sure, thank you very much. I'm going to open the floor now. I think one of the issues around the VAT and tour operators is very important. We, through David, obviously have been lobbying that for quite a while, but SARS is just one of those things that you don't play with. I think that the scariest bit is the back charging that SARS wanted to do. And if we can just get to an agreement with them that they don't back charge, that we only do the new system going forward, but everybody's on the same page, that would work. But, my suggestion to you is not to wait for the lobbying to take place. Just try and get the system set up, at least, from now going forward in the proper way, so that they don't come and slap you. Okay. I'm going to open the floor. Anybody, please just, you don't have to raise your hands, just unmute yourself, ask the question. I'm going to have to mute because my colleagues are screaming in the background. Okay, well, I think the presentation was good enough. Oh, we've got a very shy group of people on the board. I hope that that was. Okay. Oh, there we go, Daniel. Yes, let me mute.
There's always a guy that asks the first question and then it comes. So I'll be that guy that asks the first question. The integration with Zero into the different property management systems. Which of those systems do you find is the best to have the best integration in that respect?
Yeah, so the best one at the moment is the booking.com. It's the one. It is the one that was kind of first in line right at the beginning. The others are following suit. So yeah, the integration is one element, but it's not the critical element to managing the financial reporting framework of your business. So I think To answer your question, booking.com is the one that we see particularly for the smaller B&B type businesses, but the others are following suit. Hope that answers your question. I think you're on mute, honey.
Sorry, 3 years later, honestly. Will you put your contact details in the chat box? And then if anybody has any specific questions, I know that we as SATSA are definitely going to want to chat to you. Sane and I have been messaging each other, and we want to have a look and see if this fits into SATSA or into the new membership system that I keep on promising everybody, but there is going to be a new membership system very soon, and it's going to have automated invoicing, a lot of fancy stuff, hopefully, an ability for members to talk to each other online. So slowly, we are also creeping into the new way forward. Thank you very much, Ryan. So his contact details are there. You guys can copy it. We will also make this recording available with his contact details. So yeah, great. I hope you guys have a lovely day. Ryan, thank you so much for sharing a little bit of your time, and for everybody else to attend and to listen. And we will chat soon. Have a wonderful day.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Appreciate the
time.
Bye. Okay, bye.
Thanks.